What's up, quadcopter fans? It's hiringadrone.com, and today I'm going to be doing a comparison review between the Cheerson CX10 and the Ionic CX023 Quadcopter. So, just kind of getting into it, the Cheerson is actually the cheaper of the two, but in my opinion, it is built better than the Ionic CX023. Both are about the same exact size. This has the prop guards on it, so it looks a little bit bigger. But overall, I mean, roughly about the same exact size. The Cheerson seems to be just a tad bit smaller. It does have a smaller battery in it. Both of them have built-in battery cases, so you will need to plug them in to charge. There's no swapping them out for faster flights. This has a longer charge time because of the bigger battery, but you should get a longer flight time, whereas this one has a smaller battery. You still get about 3 to 4 minutes on the Cheerson, just depending on the wind conditions and if you got a fully charged Cheerson. So, just to kind of get into some of the details, going over the Cheerson, neither one of these have headless mode, which is not to be expected. They both do have 360 rotations. They both do have very fast yaw rates. They are able to spin pretty quick. The Cheerson, though, this one does have faster yaw rates and pitch, as well as a little bit more stable control, in my opinion. Only downside while flying the Cheerson is that sometimes the accelerometers will get messed up and you'll notice a drift where it continues to drift in one direction, but you can cut back and that seems to kind of knock it out, or land it, let it reset for about 3 seconds, and then take off again. So this one on the Cheerson, I do like a few features better. One is, overall quality. This thing is solid. This thing can take a beating. I've wrecked this thing. I don't have prop guards on it. Nothing seems to phase this Cheerson. I've had some issues flying it around some high voltage power lines before, which caused it to kind of do some weird rotations just when you were hitting the stick, but other than that, flying it in normal circumstances, no issues at all, even in the wind. Pretty easy to be able to control. This one is a lot faster too as well. I do like this one better. You have both your on-off switch here as well as your charger port in the back, which is nice, and I'll get into one of the downsides on the Ionic CX023 with the charger port. The propellers on the CX10 Cheerson, these things are solid, they're thick. You almost don't even need the propeller guards because of how thick these are. I mean, I've wrecked this thing. There's a noticeable thickness between the two. As far as orientation go, both of them do have lights on them. This is more along the standards of the, you have your blue in the front, your red in the back, and I picked the orange one on the Cheerson just to be able to have it a little bit more visible while flying in the sky because this thing is so small. Both of them have basically the same design underneath. You have your motor seats where your motors go in. Everything is enclosed, which is nice, especially where I'm flying, where it's dusty conditions. I don't want all that dirt and grime in there, but overall same design. With the CX203 from the Ionic, this one, the propellers are very thin. They feel very cheap. The one flight that I've had with it was very stable. I didn't notice any issues. There have been reported issues with this, of motors going bad. As well as the accelerometer is not working. After a few flights, this thing just kind of, going bonkers and crapping out. Does come with prop guards, which mine did not. I paid about $22 for this one here, so it is a little bit more expensive than the Cheerson. It is slightly a bit bigger. It does have a bigger battery and does have a bigger controller. It's not necessarily better. Basic overall same design. Motor seats here. This one is made of lighter plastic. So it doesn't feel as durable. If I squeeze on it a little bit, it does have some give, whereas in the Cheerson, I mean, the plastic is so hard it almost feels like it's metal. Some design flaws, like I was saying, the propellers are very, very thin. Feels like they could break off. These prop guards, these things feel like they could crack with ease. Not very strong at all. You can take them off. One of the kind of more annoying things here is this charger right here. This is where you plug in the charger. It's protruding outside of the drone, which leads for a chance for this to be able to be broken off, whether when you're wrecking you run into something, or just trying to put the charger on there, hitting it. I really don't like that because that breaks off. I'm not sure what it looks like by unscrewing everything and getting down into the nuts and bolts. There's a way to be able to continue to charge it without it. I do like this just for a goofy reason, but it has no bearing on the way that it flies. But this one does come with green lights in the back for orientation, and you got your blues in the front. So it's still not a bad buy for $22, but if you're in the market to buy one or the other, obviously the Cheerson would probably be the best route to go because it is cheaper, it flies better, it can take more abuse. And this one does handle well, but still it's in its infancy stages as far as me flying it, so I can't really put my stamp of approval on it. I really need to get it out, get it in the wind, test it in the same conditions as the Cheerson. But first flight went very well. So in the controllers department, here's your Cheerson CX10. Pretty standard little micro nano. Takes two AA's. Both of them do. When you turn this one on, you have your trim buttons here. They do beep, and then you have your trim buttons here, which do beep. Which is nice. So when you're flying, you can listen to those beeps. You don't have to be looking at your controller to do it. You can change your speed mode by clicking in on the left stick. So you do have two speeds, and the yaw rate is very, very fast, and you can do fast pirouettes with this. Pitch too as well. It does have somewhat easy to hover because this throttle stick is a little bit stiffer. You have your left, right, forward, backwards. So it's a pretty basic controller, but you do get the beeps. So if you want to do your trick, you do click on this stick, left, right, forward, backwards. Or if you do want to change the speed, you do get that feedback, which is very helpful, like I said, so you're not looking down at the controller while you're flying. So for the Ionic CX023, this drone, like I said, it was more expensive, probably about $7 more, I believe I paid. And for that, you think you would get a little bit better quality than something that you could buy cheaper with kind of a better brand name. On this controller here, the design is cool because it reminds me of a PlayStation controller, but it is lacking in a few different departments. It does not have any feedback noises, so to change your speed, you click it in and you just got your blinking light here, so which causes you to have to look down at the actual controller while you're flying. Take your eyes off your drone. The yaw rate is okay. I flew it indoors, so I didn't really get to wild out with it and get crazy, but for the most part, it rotated nice and smooth. I did notice some issues with the pitch when using the throttle here. It's not very consistent. Even if I have it in a hover mode, you're always going to continue to have to mess with it just to give it a little bit of throttle in order for it to keep it hovering. You do have your trick buttons on the right hand side. Same with the Cheerson. You just pick your direction, click the stick in, and pick your direction. Your trim buttons are actually up on the top on this controller, which is a little bit different. So it'd be nice if it did beep, so you didn't have to look down at it. But the nice thing is that when you're using this controller, you can actually click your trim buttons here, and you don't have to take your hands off the stick to do it. So if I'm flying my Cheerson and I want to change the trim, I got to take my fingers off the stick in order to do it, which is kind of a design flaw, you know. Possibly maybe in the future, maybe they'll be putting them up here. Who knows? But, you know, this one does not give any feedback. So between the two, you know, I've only had the first flight on this one here. You know, both of them have the exact same features. I believe that the Cheerson's built better. It's cheaper. It's a better buy overall. I'm not sure how well this one's going to handle up, especially with some of the bad reviews that people gave it with motors going out. And, you know, I can just tell by, you know, touching it, you know, the cheaper parts and whatnot. So I do like the fact it has a bigger battery pack. Really do hate this charger being out here on the end. Plus, you know, it's not a universal charger, so I've got to carry more chargers around, you know, with me whenever I go out flying. So if this video helped you out in any way, especially if you're gonna, you know, go out and purchase either the CX10 Cheerson or the Ionic CX023, you know, maybe this will give you a little bit of insight on which way to go. Personally, I would go with this one here. But both of them are good buys if you can find them at the right price. You know, this one, it is a little bit questionable as to how long it will last you, whereas this one, you know, I have been beating this thing up for weeks on end, and it's taken a beating and still continued on. You know, the only damage that I have suffered is on one of the motor seat mounts. I did crack, I believe, this here, but you know, it has not affected any bit of it as far as the flight goes. And this thing charges fast. I mean, you can pretty much put it in your pocket and take it with you, fly it anywhere you're at. So video helped you out, give it a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe to the channel for more unboxings, more comparisons, as well as you know, flight videos too I'll be uploading.